welcome to the Black and Blue FF Preview Week 7 edition. Well, we're back on top, pack on top, baby, as they put in the Sports Illustrated issue when the Packers won the Super Bowl way back in the annual of 2011-2010 season. Right now, we are in 2025, Week 7, and that means the Packers are up against the Arizona Cardinals. So it's going to be out in the desert. It's going to be an afternoon game. And I don't know how many times, people have seen the Packers play in Arizona, but it's almost a home away from home, even when the Cardinals are good. There are several Packers fans, snowbirds. I mean, it's October, so they're not all quite leaving the North Country and coming down here to the beautiful Southwest, but they do travel well, and there are just a lot of Packers fans everywhere, but particularly Arizona. It gets loud on third down for the home team in this one. Now, the Cardinals are 2-4, but that's a little bit of a deceptive record. They could very easily be 6-0. They haven't just been blown out in very many games. Debacles against San Francisco, Seattle, Tennessee, and then Jacoby Brissett almost got them a win last week. So they haven't been blown out. You got a defensive-minded coach over there for their head coach, so he's going to keep the game within distance. The problem is their execution on offense, even with Trey McBride. Harrison Jr. is probably going to be out this game, I'm assuming. So look for us to double him. I mean, we got decent safeties. Quay Walker's a great underrated coverage linebacker, but McBride can still do well, okay? So we just got to be aware of that, keep that in mind. On the Packers side, I mean, we're rolling. I told you Josh Jacobs was going to have a heck of a game against the Bengals last week. The offense, Jordan Love is going to have to do a little bit of work this time. The Cardinals are keeping running backs in check. CMC had a pretty decent game against them, but, it's Jonathan Taylor had a good game as well, but it's not. Those are great running backs. You're talking about elite running backs, and Josh Jacobs is an elite running back. They're going to feature him, but I just think this is going to be more of a game for Golden. This is going to be more of a game for Dobbs. I think Kraft is going to be open, depending on how they use Budda Baker. They kind of put him all over. They put him in the box. They put him out wide. They'll put him at safety. So when Kraft isn't lined up on Baker, I think he's going to have an advantage against whoever else is on that secondary. Thompson, he's lined up against Mack Wilson as a linebacker. So Kraft could have a touchdown game. You saw he got those big chunk yards last week, 2 catches but 40-something yards because they were big chunks of yardage. On the flip side, Golden looked great. Like, that might have been his breakout game that we've been anticipating. 80-plus yards. Targeted by Love, so it's something we really enjoy seeing. Brandon McManus was out, and we were still able to keep the field goals rolling with our new kicker. I don't know if he's coming back or not. I don't know how that works, but it could become a factor because, as I said, the Cardinals have not been blown out. Their record. It's one of those examples where the Bills. I said it in another show. They're terrible. They're not near as good as their record. If James Cook doesn't have a good game, the Bills are toast. Green Bay has a bunch of outlets. So they don't have to worry about that, but the Cardinals are better than their record. They're better than 2-4. So this isn't going to be a cakewalk. Expect it to be a battle. Probably going to have to come down to some fourth quarter play. But as I said, there's only one team in the NFC North with one loss, and it is the Green Bay Packers. All right, to tell us about bearing down, here's my guy, Andy.
Oh, hey. If only someone would have mentioned that the Bears were the hottest team in football. I've been saying it for the last 3 weeks or so. Week 6 went pretty well. Monday night went better than many of you anticipated. Certainly better than Troy Aikman anticipated. He didn't seem to like anything that Caleb Williams was doing, and yet the Bears eke out a 25-24 win thanks to new Bears legend Jake Moody. That was awesome to see. It was a great game. If only someone would have told you that DeAndre Swift was going to go off against Washington. Oh, yeah, he did. Oh, yeah, somebody did mention that just last week in these videos. Great game for the Bears, obviously. A third win in a row. And they're heading into a matchup with New Orleans in which they are actually favored by more than a field goal. That's exciting. The Bears could be on their way to 4-2. They're pretty frisky. Caleb Williams now averaging about 236 passing yards per game, which puts him on a 4,000-yard pace for the season, which I think many of you realize would be a Bears record. It's crazy that Eric Kramer still has the single-season passing record for the Bears, but Caleb is on it. He's got a real shot. He's playing well. I think far and away the biggest improvement for the Bears this season, honestly, is that Caleb is getting rid of the ball. The internal clock has changed, right? Caleb getting rid of the ball in situations in which it has to come out. He's only been sacked 10 times. This is a substantial reduction off of last year's sack total. He's on pace to be sacked like 30, 34, 35 times. That's a normal number. Last year, obviously not a normal number, and it's making a huge difference. So great win for the Bears against Washington. They overcome Troy Aikman. They overcome the officials who took away a Rome Odunze touchdown needlessly. They overcome some mistakes, and they get a win against a good football team. And now they're facing a not so good football team, although New Orleans has been kind of frisky as well. They have been in all but, I'd say, okay, the Seattle game, they weren't really in that, but they have been in most of their games. It's a talented team. Another win for the Bears, though. Again, the hottest football team in America. Another win for the Bears, and all of you are going to have to be taking them seriously. You too, Greg Kellogg.
Okay, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe the NFL is out to promote one team over another team. So I'm not buying all this. The referees helped the Chiefs at the behest of the NFL. That said, I do believe it was a very poorly officiated game, starting with the touchdown that was reversed. Was it a good call or not? I have no way of knowing for sure, but I do know that Dan Campbell is a good coach, and he would have gone over the idiosyncrasies of that play with his team when they practiced it. So I have my doubts about whether that should have been turned over or not. And then not a single penalty against the Chiefs all night long, even though we did see a lot of holding on Hutchinson. I saw Travis Kelce wrap his arms around somebody that he was blocking. Just poorly officiated. That said, Dan Campbell's got to get the ship turned around. We went from being first place. We still have the most wins in the division, but we're now second in terms of one-loss percentage. So we've got to get it righted. And the first start to that is Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week. Now, the problem with that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers may be the best team in football right now. They're definitely the best team in the NFC right now with the best record, and they're playing well. But just like the Lions' defensive secondary is messed up with injuries, the Buccaneers' offensive wide receivers suffered the same fate. Now, they do get Mike Evans back, which will help them, but they lost Emeka Egbuka, and we think Chris Godwin's probably still out another week. So let's get into the game. What do we expect from this week's game? High scoring game. Vegas is calling for a 52.5 over under, which means both teams are going to score a lot of points. We're looking at a 4.5 point favorite in Detroit at home. So 28-24 is basically the score that they're looking for. I think Detroit gets over 30 this week, but I think they give up well over 24 as well. Wouldn't surprise me if this was a 60-65 point game. I'd probably take the over. Because Detroit's defense is messed up, and the Buccaneers have given up a lot of points to receivers this year. So let's start with quarterback. I like Goff. I'm going to start him again. I like Amon-Ra. I like Jameer Gibbs. I would start Jameson Williams this week. I'd probably start Sam Laporta. He's been getting a little bit more usage, and so I like him. As for David Montgomery, Campbell has said that he wants to get Montgomery the ball more. So I'm looking at 10 to 12 carries, potentially a touchdown. I would start Montgomery as a running back too. I wouldn't expect running back one numbers from him, but I think he's a viable starter this week. On defense, Hutchinson got another sack. He's not getting a lot of tackles, but he is getting sacks. So depending on your scoring system, you might want to start him. Derek Barnes, another guy that gets tackles and sacks. Jack Campbell will probably be covering Cade Otton a lot, and he's getting tackles. Campbell's got to start. Alex Anzalone got 12 tackles last week, 7 solos. You got to start him in the middle because Tampa Bay, although they're not efficient at it, does run the ball quite a bit. So I do expect good tackle numbers from them. Kirby Joseph will probably be doubling on Mike Evans a lot, so he'll probably have an interception opportunity. He is playing through an injury, so you do have to be aware of that. But I would probably start Joseph. I would not start any of the replacement corners for Detroit. Over on the Tampa Bay side, Baker's got to start. You know that. I would probably start Mike Evans, though I'm not expecting a huge day from him. Wide receiver 2 numbers are probably in store. For the other, I would not start Rashad White this week or Kate Otten. I would look at Sterling Shepard and Cam Johnson. Now, I know Tez Johnson caught the 45-yard touchdown, and he had a lot of snaps, like 72% snaps. Cam Johnson had a lot fewer snaps, but he caught all 4 targets, and he also scored. I think against Detroit's backup corners, Cam Johnson probably gets 5 or 6 catches this week, and I think he'll be the main beneficiary of the injuries to Egbuka. That said, I do think that Detroit gets back on the winning track this week. Go Lions. And now, JC, what do you have from the Vikings?
What's up, everybody? It's JC from the Sports Affiliation, and we are back for another episode of the Black and Blue Fantasy Football Preview Show. It is week 7, and we are here to cover the Minnesota Vikings. Let's go. Last week, bye week. So let's just hope Vikings don't come off and be sluggish like they tend to be off the bye week. But we have a lot of players coming back. I know Blake Cashman's going to be back, so we're definitely going to be firing him up on defense this week, especially in IDP leagues. Eagles have won Super Bowl here in Minnesota at this stadium, so there is that. I know the over-under in this game is 43.5 points. We are going to be taking the under this week, coming off of their bye week. In week 6, we are last in the division at 3-2. So, this division is playing really hard football. I don't expect us to be there long, but this is going to be a tough week, right? Vikings have Eagles at home. In all honesty, I think this is going to be a very defensive heavy game. The Vikings are getting back a very, very missed defensive player in Blake Cashman. He's the green dot guy. He's going to be there. Causing a lot of ruckus and a lot of things to throw Jalen Hurts out of whack, maybe throw Saquon out of whack. I think him being back is going to really, really solidify this defense. We are still missing Van Ginkel with that neck. He did practice in limited, or he was a limited participant in practice this week, or on Thursday. Just like JJ McCarthy as well, which we'll get into that here in a second. But if Van Ginkel's able to come back, this defense is going to be top notch. They're going to be stopping the run. They're going to be getting to Jalen. But my thoughts are that Van Ginkel probably will not play this week. But Cashman, I think he's a go. Also, our offensive line has definitely got strengthened up as well. So as long as they're healthy, and they can keep whoever's in the playing at quarterback upright. That's all that matters. Give us opportunity, give somebody to throw, whoever's back there. We also got to remember that Jalen Carter is back for the Eagles, and he's going to be hunting this week. He is back and healthy, and he is going to be hunting. So we have our offensive line has to be on top of stuff. So let's get to the quarterback situation. Carson Wentz, yes, he has gotten us some wins. Or I should say, yeah, he's gotten us some wins. But he doesn't look great. He looks okay. He looks like a backup quarterback that's trying to get you through games. A veteran backup quarterback, I should say, that's getting you through games, or at least, keeping you kind of in games. To me, Carson Wentz, he throws the ball. He's short all the time. I guess I know he's under pressure, but, we don't get that game-winning play with Jordan Addison 2 weeks ago in London if Jordan Addison doesn't have to turn around and catch that ball and then stretch out into the end zone. I'm just saying, I think Carson Wentz, kind of underthrows the ball a little bit, and that's going to be something we can't be doing this week, with that Eagles ball hawks. We just have to be more aware of where we're throwing the ball. If I am Kevin O'Connell, and JJ McCarthy's healthy, I'm throwing the kid out there. We need to know what this kid can do. He had a great fourth quarter in that first game. We need to see if we can continue to do stuff like that. So I want them to get him the ball. But right now he is very limited in practice again here Thursday. So we will see as it gets closer to Sunday. So my predictions, I guess, for this game, or what I should say, I'm definitely going to be firing up JJ or Justin Jefferson. I'm definitely going to be firing up Jordan Addison. I guess you can fire up Jordan Mason if you want. I still think they're going to have to be using him. They're going to be using him to kind of block a little bit, right? Pass block. I guess what you could do is if you're really desperate for tight end, you could fire up Josh Oliver because he's been a target in the end zone a lot this year. Or at least I should say he's caught enough touchdowns to where you could be somebody, if you really desperately need a tight end, you could throw him in there. Also, I want to say on defense, right, Blake Cashman, fire him up. If you got him or if he's out there on the waivers, go pick him up for IDP. This is going to be a tough week. Eagles have lost the last 2 weeks, so we have to go out and get a win. But it's going to be tough because they're going to be playing really, really hard football. The Vikings have to be strong in this game, and they have to go out and make sure that they are scoring on these drives. Like I said earlier, the over-under in this game is 43.5. I'm going to be taking the under in this game. I think it's going to be very defensive heavy. We're going, like I said, Jalen Carter is back, Blake Cashman's back, and that's really going to help, with this to keep the score a little lower. I think that you take the under. If you want to build a parlay, you take the under. You take the money line for the Eagles, and I'm going to throw one in there. Jalen Carter being back, I think that he can go out there and get himself a sack this week. So let's say Eagles money line under 43.5, and Jalen Carter gets a sack. The props aren't out on DraftKings yet for tackles or sacks, so we're waiting on that. But that's what I'm going to say. So Eagles are probably going to get a win this week. It's going to be tough for the Vikings. If JJ McCarthy's back, like I said, their only biggest upside that they have is starting him. Wentz is going to give you what Wentz gives you. That's it. And I'm not excited about that. But on that note, Skol Vikings, let's hope for a win. That's all I can say. Let's hope for a win. It's going to be tough, but it's going to be a defensive game. Once again, this is JC Money Design from the Sports Affiliation. I get a great opportunity to work with some amazing people every single week on this cool show called the Black and Blue Fantasy Football Podcast. It's just a preview, right, for the NFC North every single week. I get to work with Iggy. I get to work with Greg Kellogg, and I get to work with Andy Behrens. So it's been an absolute blast. So make sure you stop by. Check out the YouTube page. Check out the website, thesportsaffiliation.com. Yeah. Just good luck to everybody this week in fantasy football. And yeah, we're out of here. Appreciate everyone stopping by. Peace.